Last month, I posted a video breaking down the differences between 3/4 and 6/8 time. In short, the difference between them is 3/4 is a simple meter and 6/8 is a compound meter. In simple meters, beats are subdivided into groups of 2, and in compound meters, beats are subdivided into groups of 3. The third type of meter that I didn't talk about then is asymmetric meters. These are meters in which the beats are of unequal length and therefore can't all be subdivided into the same groupings. Examples of asymmetric meters would be 5/8, 7/8, 11/8, 11/16, 15/16. There's loads of possible asymmetric meters, but those are some of the more commonly used ones. They are the bane of existence for many musicians. So many struggle to wrap their heads around them, and when asked to play something in an odd meter, they completely fall on their faces. I've been there. And you can hardly fault people for it. To most of us, they feel really unnatural. Part of that is cultural, I think. Folk music in some parts of the world heavily utilizes uneven meters and rhythmic patterns, like a lot of Balkan folk music. But in general, even rhythms just feel more comfortable to us. Our hearts beat at regular intervals. When we walk or run, both our legs are going at the same pace. But the angularity and jerkiness of asymmetric meters can be really exciting. They have a rhythmic dimension that you can't totally replicate in simpler compound meters. So how do you feel and play in these meters when they inherently feel unnatural to most of us? Fortunately, most music, regardless of what meter it's in, utilizes something you might call a clave. The term clave is most strongly associated with Afro-Cuban music. It basically means the music's rhythmic backbone. Each clave has a different name, like the son clave, da, 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 ba, 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 or the rumba clave, most music we play is going to have some sort of repeated rhythmic pattern in the same manner as this. You don't necessarily play the same rhythmic pattern over and over again. You weave in and around it, but it's always there in the background holding everything together. It's what we move and groove to. Asymmetric meters are no different in this regard. To connect yourself to the feel of an asymmetric meter, you have to understand its clave. There's almost certainly going to be one there. So to use an example that's relevant to my life right now, there's one spot in this musical that I'm playing in that has been a real headache. If you didn't catch it in my video last week, this month I'm playing guitar in the pit for a local production of the musical Next to Normal. Every show you play in has this one spot that gives the whole band trouble. For us, in this show, it's the first song in the second act titled Wish I Were Here. At the start of what I guess is the bridge, the dynamics come way down and it's just bass and drums vamping over the actor's dialogue. The vamp is a 2-bar riff in 7/8. It gets repeated as many times as necessary until the actors finish their lines. Then it goes on to a fill in a bar of 3/8 and back into the same riff in 7/8 where the singing continues. I don't play during the vamp, but I do have to come in strong on the 3/8 bar and then play some little accents in the 7/8 bars that follow. In the first weekend of shows, we did not once nail it. As an ensemble waiting for cues from the actors, we're having a really hard time with it. What we've had to do in rehearsal is get ourselves to a point where we're feeling it collectively. This means we all need to be on the same page with counting it. And for the record, our bass player is absolutely killing it. He's holding down his part just fine. It's just that when the rest of the band comes back in out of this vamp, there's some uncertainty and second guessing happening as we try to follow the actors. Their lines don't end at the same point in the vamp every time, so it keeps us on our toes. But this video is more intended to show how to approach something like this in the general sense. I'm just using an example that's relevant to me currently. We're just going to focus on the 7/8 vamp. So, how do you count and feel 7/8? There's really only 4 ways to do it. You can split it up into 2 groups of 2/8 notes and a group of 3/8 notes, which yields 3 options. 2 plus 2 plus 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 3 plus 2 plus 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. Or 2 plus 3 plus 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. For the counting, you could also count to 7 through all the different subdivisions. You just have to make sure you're emphasizing the right notes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. You should also say sev instead of 7, so you don't have to jam 2 syllables in. So those are 3 different ways to feel it. The 4th way is to feel it like a lopsided 4/4. So 4/4 with an 8th note cut off the end of it. This gives it a sort of limping feel. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 1. Which of these 4 options you feel something in is going to be determined by the notes on the page, how the notes are beamed together, but also the tempo. This bass riff could be felt in 2 plus 2 plus 3, but our tempo is a little slow for that to really lock in. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1. So we've opted to feel it as a lopsided 4 instead. The notes and the rhythms themselves suggest that feeling it in either way would be fine. I'm pretty sure this is how it's written in the bass part, like 2 plus 2 plus 3. But this is it. If you have the means to just listen to it without playing it, clap along with it, tap the beats out on your chest, whatever you have to do. That's your backbone. That's what's going to hold you together. If you don't have that, you can't go beyond this. You can try, but you'll probably have a bad time. Now, you break down where every rhythmic event falls in the meter. Here we have 2 eighth notes on 1. Simple enough. Then an eighth note and 2 sixteenths on beat 2. The second 16th is syncopated, so we have to be ready for that. Third beat is all syncopated. An eighth note on the E of 3 and a 16th on the of 3, and then 2 sixteenths on beat 4, which is our short beat in this lopsided 4. The second measure is a little different. Beat 1 is the same as in the first measure. Beat 2 is just a quarter note followed by a 16th rest and a 16th note. Then we have a 16th, 2 eighths, and a 16th. Our short beat actually happens halfway through this second eighth note. Here it is as tied 16th notes, so you can see it a little more clearly. I don't think it's written this way in the part though. But what we want to do is start chunking all these pieces together. Depending on how difficult this is for you, you could work a beat at a time, you could chunk 2 consecutive beats together, you could do each measure on its own. Start with the smallest pieces you're comfortable with, get really comfortable with them, and start building up to bigger pieces. Bum bum, bum bum. Bum bum, bum bum, bum bum bop dop, boom boom bop dop, boom boom bop dop, boom boom bop dop bop bottom boom bop dop bop 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 deep beep dop bum bum dop bop boop bop dop bop da boop bop dop bop da bop bop dop bop da bum bop dop bop da. Second measure, boom boom. Bum bum, bum bum bum, ba 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 ba dum ba bum bum bum, ba da dun da dun dun dun, da dun da dun dun dun, da dun da dun dun dun, da dun 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 dun da dun dun. Just scat the thing. We don't care about singing the notes right. It's just about feeling the clave, getting in the groove. We're trying to make the lopsidedness of it feel natural. Get right at home. If it doesn't feel natural to you, that's going to translate into the performance. If you don't feel it, neither will the audience. Now that we've done the work of decontextualizing it while focusing on the rhythm, it's time to plug in the notes. That part should be pretty seamless, honestly. There's no reason the pitches should give you trouble after all that rhythm focus. But if you're going to play music in unusual meters like this, and it's difficult for you, this is the kind of work you have to do when practicing it. And in situations where it's a collective difficulty, like for us in the band, we all have to be on the same page about how we're feeling it and drill it a bunch of times. We hit it multiple times each night before the show. Then we just have to be ready to follow the actors. So that's all I've got for today. Really just a practice tip more than anything. If you're interested in private Zoom lessons, I have a few openings right now. Feel free to shoot me a message if you're interested in that. But with that, thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.